Hi everyone, this is John Gerardi from Right to Life of Central California, bringing you another in our daily 40 videos for 40 days series. This is to accompany our 40 Days for Life campaign, the international campaign of prayer and presence throughout next to abortion clinics throughout the country and throughout the world. If you want to learn more about our Fresno campaign, get in touch with us at 559-229-2229. Today I want to continue with something I started yesterday, which is about sort of the history of Christianity as it relates to abortion. There's a lot of push in current cultural and religious and political arguments to argue that abortion is kind of consistent with historic Christianity. And I'm trying to push back against that in sort of this series of talks where I'm going to sort of talk a little bit about the development of Christian teaching on the topic of abortion. Yesterday, we talked a little bit about the Jewish inheritance in Christianity of concern for social justice and how that manifested itself in the first century AD with Christians being opposed to contraception, abortion, but also infanticide. Infanticide being sort of a very common method in certain parts of the Roman Empire, a common method of birth control, given that it was very difficult to effectively perform abortions or use contraception. So today I want to talk a little bit about the intellectual development of how Christianity thought how and when the Christian world of post-Roman Europe, when they thought human life actually began in the womb. Now, I say sort of the post-Roman world, but really starting the best science that anyone had on the topic of when exactly does human life begin? When do you go from not a living organism to having a living organism? The best science we had for much of history was Aristotle. Aristotle, the Greek 4th century BC philosopher, who came up with this notion that, in his opinion, human life in the womb began at some point after intercourse. At some time, he thought somewhere between 40 and 80 days after conception. He thought for boys, life began 40 days after conception. For girls, 80 days after conception. And it had to do with his theories of, you might ask why the girl-boy distinction, had to do with his theories that basically before a collection of matter could receive the soul, its animating principle, and thus have life, that the matter has to be ready to receive the soul and must have all of its relevant constitutive parts ready to go. And it appears that Aristotle was probably looking at the bodies of miscarried children and noticing that male genitalia were visible earlier on than female genitalia, so or distinguishable earlier on. Now, this is maybe a little crude and simplistic, but there was something behind it other than just rank sexism. That, unfortunately, was the best science we had, was Aristotle's best guess that life in the womb probably began at some point 40 days-ish after conception for boys and 80 days-ish after conception for girls. And that being sort of the best scientific opinion of the time, that sort of imported itself into Christianity. And what you find in early Christianity, and this goes all the way through well into the second millennium of Christianity, is sort of being not sure about the exact moral status of early abortion. People were pretty sure the later you got into a pregnancy, abortion became worse and worse of a crime after the 40-day point, after the 80-day point. Particularly a lot of people thought after quickening. Quickening is the point in a pregnancy when the mother can begin to feel the baby kicking. And literally the word quick is sort of an older English word that means alive, the quick and the dead. So quickening means the coming alive. And a lot of modern day advocates, like Catholics for Choice, a lot of modern day abortion advocates who are trying to advocate for some kind of consistency between historic Christianity and the modern day pro-choice position, they will point to this lack of certainty in the Christian world and these, hypotheses that human life began 40 days or 80 days after conception as proof that actually Christianity was totally okay with abortion. If they didn't even think human life began until 40 or 80. If the church didn't think that human life began until 40 or 80 days after conception, then clearly they were okay with abortion. And this is incorrect. This is an incorrect way of looking at the church's viewpoint. Christianity was always historically opposed to contraception. So the question was not, is abortion early in pregnancy okay? The question was simply, what kind of not okay is this? Is this something immoral along the lines of a very late form of contraception? Or is this a very early form of homicide? And there was a lot of just uncertainty in the Christian world at that time. Furthermore, again, as I mentioned in the context of ancient Rome, in a pre-antibiotics society, abortion was probably not all that common just because it was so difficult and dangerous to do. Any way of performing abortion would be extremely dangerous to the woman. You'd either have to externally hit her to induce a miscarriage somehow, give her some kind of poison that was just as likely to kill her as it was to kill the baby, or do some kind of very crude surgical method that was very, very likely to kill the woman. So it's not very likely that abortion was this super common practice. And Christianity would have been opposed to it one way or another, no matter whether you think human life began right at conception or 40 days after conception. When we return, we're going to talk a little bit about the big developments that took place in Christian thought and teaching about abortion that occurred in the 19th century. But I just want to reemphasize that even though there was some uncertainty about when human life began, the Catholic Church was always crystal clear that abortion is wrong. In one way or another, the Catholic Church never took the position that abortion was right, nor did any other Christian groups, Protestant Christianity, Orthodox Christianity. Nobody ever took the position that abortion was a good thing or a morally neutral thing until at least the 20th century. For Right to Life of Central California, I'm John Gerardi.